Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday, first day of the month of August. Let me get my charts squared away and ready to go here for our discussion here this morning. I hope everybody is doing well. Let me get over to the Discord stream, make sure I've got my at least eyeball somewhat on that as well. All right, what's up, Unknown Reviews? How are you? How are the trade plans working out for you? Hope everything's been well. Let me get to one more thing. I'm running a little bit behind this morning. My apologies. I just wanted to get my charts queued up with our trade plan reviews that we need to go through. We've got NVIDIA, Crowd, and Snow from the member selected tickers over the weekend still, and then our plans from Tuesday's live stream were AMD and Lily. So let's take a look at these both. All right. So, all right, Unknown Reviews wants to take a look at Apple. That's actually a good request. That's one I've been meaning to look at myself. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here with the markets. In general, we've talked a little bit about waiting for or looking for a break of this 55.42 level. We had Neptune with heavy selling pressure, and really even on top of that, the key selling level there layered on top of 55.42.25. We also had a downtrend that we were dealing with. SMAs looking bearish and adding some short crowd at the open. I feel like that was an easy one to call though, right? Crowd's been not doing so great after they broke the internet. We got a break over that 55.42 level, broke out over the downtrend to have reclaimed the 200 SMA as support, as you see here on the hourly, broke above, gave us a little back test, continued higher. One interesting thing to point out, we filled this gap that we had on futures. I talked about that as well, looking for that gap to fill once we got a break above 55.42. That has filled, and that's where we saw that pretty decent rejection coming off of that level pre-market. Well, actually, kind of even before pre-market as far as S&P goes, but in the wee hours of the morning, we'll say here this morning around 2 a.m. we filled that gap and then pulled back pretty decently off that gap fill. We're testing it again here, so that'll be an interesting level to watch to see if we get continuation higher. That's sitting right around 55.94.50. So again, we got our break over. That was our sign to say, okay, we've got a little stretch here where we can look to take some solid long positions and capitalize on it. Got our break above, even got a back test here on this little bit of a doji candle, and then pushed up higher, closed the gap. So that's what we were looking for as far as a first price target goes, and has pulled back off of that since. So I think we've nailed these moves so far. Let's see if it can continue to push through that gap level, or that gap fill level, I should say. If it can, I would expect a test of the top of this supply zone more than likely. So somewhere up here around, what, 56.30 ish. So keep that on watch, but this is going to be another key level to break. Also probably not a bad place to go ahead and put some hedges in on any long positions that you've built up on the move up, either from off of this demand zone down here below, or even if you waited for this break out over 55.42.25. Still probably a good place to look to take some profits and maybe even layer in some hedges until we break over that 55.94.50, at which point I think we do have room for a leg higher. So that I would say hold off on anything on the short side, bearish side, hedge side, whatever you want to call it, until we get up closer to 56.30. So that's what we're looking at for the markets in general, to kind of be our guide and help kind of steer our bias one way or the other as we navigate the end of this trading week and going into the month of August. So let's get into some trade plan reviews. Let's see, we had from the member selected tickers, Crowd, Snow, and AMD, and then when did we do Snow? I'm sorry, AMD was from our live stream. We had Snow, Crowd, and NVIDIA. That's right. I was like, that doesn't sound right. So let's take a look at Snow starting out here. Again, this one's kind of chopped in the range until it gave us a break below, broke down, hit our price targets. But again, this is kind of the tricky thing. I know I've talked about this on many occasions when it comes to swinging options overnight. You know, and having a good plan in place is, you know, your plan's in place, but if your price targets hit, and we have these price targets in place because these are areas where not only do we want to take profit, but we want to take profit because these are areas where, sorry, I hate this, like, fix this thing real quick. Compact. Sometimes it gets so in the way. Actually, I might just hide it for now. We get this breakdown, right? And so we've got our confirmed break below. We want to go into puts, but we've got these price targets in place because these are areas where, you know, we could expect the price to reverse and go against us, either at PT1, 2, or 3, right? So if we hit these price targets during extended hours trading sessions when you can't do anything with your options contracts, it can kind of put you in a spot where, yes, the plan worked and it was, you know, it was effective. However, it was not profitable because the market hit, or that particular ticker, I should say, hit a target and the price reversed, and in this case is reversed significantly against the original position on puts that by the time you could have done anything with it, that green, what should have been a pretty green trade, is going to wind up being, you know, a red trade. So just, again, something to think about. Make sure that you buy plenty of time on your options. That will also help kind of deal with some of these issues and allow you chances to work and rework the position and rework these plans as you see fit. So one thing I did note, somebody asked about snow, why is it rejecting yesterday? One thing of note here on snow that I would say is, from a Neptune perspective, I've seen a lot of this, right, where it comes up and tests the 200 SMA in this bearish flag here on the hourly and ultimately causes rejections and pushes things lower. That looks like what we're seeing a little bit of signs of here again. We do have NTS kind of layered right on top of there, that key resistance there at 131.74. So keep that level on watch. That'll be a tough one, I think, to break, and might even be a good spot to take some short positions on snow again. So anyway, just food for thought there. Let's get to the rest of our trade plans for over the weekend. Crowd, we talked about this one. Like Unknown Reviews mentioned on Tuesday morning pre-market as we were doing our trade reviews. What's up, Ryan? Good to see you, man. Good morning to you as well. We'll definitely take a look at, or try to take a look at QQQ as we go through everything this morning. For those of you who are watching over in Discord, please feel free to come join us on the YouTube side of the house. That's where I'm getting these chat messages and talking to people. So if it sounds like I'm talking to random made-up people, that's why, because I'm over here chatting with the folks at YouTube. So again, we talked about crowd. Crowd was breaking below our put entry and coming up. Gosh, again, I love these long short positions for kind of helping show our trade plans, but when we're doing reviews, they kind of get in the way. What's up, Strife? Good morning to you, brother. Hope you're doing well. So we talked about this one, right, as we were coming up for the back test of that put entry. I was trying to push folks to consider going short on crowd there at open as long as that back test resistance held. It did, and that pushed it down all the way below PT3. So we got PT3 plus off that morning move. We covered it Tuesday morning pre-market. We had the plan in place Sunday evening. So, you know, again, trying to step you guys through these processes, and so you can start to sort of develop an eye for these things and start to fish for yourselves, right? My goal with these is to kind of, I know I'm not getting into a lot of detail and explaining stuff in depth, but hopefully just by seeing it, it's allowing folks to kind of grasp sort of how to have these, the price action on a chart makes sense, right? And the first step to that is, in my opinion, always understanding where your support and resistance levels are going to be. So again, crowd dropped down below PT3, and it's continuing to find resistance down here. We did catch a small, very small win on shares off of, let me pull this up, because again, we're looking at kind of boiled down, or that's the right word for that. Why can I not think of the word I'm looking for? More, you know, we're looking at recap levels only on some of these charts, so we do have other levels in place. So this was the level I was playing, this key weekly level. I was somewhat interested in possibly taking some if we saw some support at this weekly level. I'm glad I waited, because we didn't, right? We broke down, we back tested as resistance, that shot us down. to 227.37. So we did scoop some shares off of that weekly level, but that pullback yesterday stopped me out of any remaining shares that I didn't take on that partial exit at about a $6 per share win there, and the rest got shook out at like $1 a share or something like that. So, and honestly, crowd still looks a little rough and still has more bad news on the horizon, it sounds like. So I'm glad I kind of kept tight stops tight and moved them up into profit versus letting things potentially go red on a green trade. So anyway, that's where we look to scoop things up on crowd, but the recap plan just wasn't showing that level. So wanted to talk about that real quick. And then Nvidia, this monster right here, we might have even talked about going short on it going into the open pre-market, because very similar setup, right, to what we saw with crowd. We had already broken down below pre-market. We were coming up for our back test of that put entry, that support that is now flipped to a key resistance. Same thing here on Nvidia, right? Very, very similar, almost exactly the same kind of setup. We had broken down below going into pre-market. Hide this thing again. Broken down below going into pre-market, came up, back tested it as resistance, and that sent it down all the way to PT3 plus, and then it bounced. And we'll kind of do the same thing with crowd. I've got a key level here on Nvidia that I've been keeping on watch as far as, like, you know, how worried do I need to be about my share position. You know, even though I'm still pretty good in profit, I want to really kind of consider some hedges and you know, stuff like that below this 102.42 level. So I've got all this area down here kind of shaded because it's you know, below that it gets sketchy, and I also need to do some additional analysis and planning down below that. Fortunately, that's right where we bounced from. We did give this a little bit of like a dip there in the extended hours trading session. I think it was part of when AMD was reporting its earnings report, or getting ready to, and price action was kind of doing weird things. But anyway, during the cash session, when it was actually actionable, we got a really nice little double bottom, back-to-back 15-minute candles there that has sent the price up. Now we're over PT, or the call entry, I should say. We broke over that, back tested it, that took it to PT2 so far. We've tested that again a second time here, so be ready to lock profits on this. If you did take that entry, again, we saw a nice test of resistance, break over, back test support, also in that bullish trend on a Neptune, on the Neptune indicator there, and pushed us higher up to PT2. We've come back tested again, testing PT2 again. So these levels are working out really nicely. Hopefully you guys are executing the plan on this one. And again, great break over, back test, and move higher. Should be able to take some profits here at open. I don't expect it to pull back that much further with the way things are setting up. I'm sort of looking at things, expecting this 118.90 to hold going into the open, but you know, anything's possible. We did just have a big move yesterday and FOMC yesterday, so some catalysts that are still kind of working themselves out of the market. All right, let's wrap this up and then let's get to some trade plans. We also did yeah, you're welcome, brother. Hopefully you're doing very, very well with the SPY plan. So what are we looking for here on AMD, or what do we see on AMD? We had our breakdown, hit PT1 or just shy of PT1 going into that earnings report, held over the put entry, so trying to build that base, and then on the earnings report, shot it up all the way to PT2. That seems to be the rejection point. Sorry, let me hide these long short things again. I like them for showing trade plans. I don't like them for trying to talk through these things after the fact. So we saw it run up, hit PT2 there right after the open yesterday morning, pulled back pretty hard from there, consolidated above this confluence right there with 142.71 support. Both of these SMAs stacked up on top of each other right there. So could be trying to break out and make another run to the upside over 145.81. Neptune did flip a little bit bearish, not the strongest flip, just kind of barely closed that candle low enough to roll things over. So this might be a short-lived bear flag, but overall, it's something I would still kind of keep in mind. But from there, execute the plan. I do like this backstop with these SMAs right there at the stop loss average down level at 142.71. So even if you did get caught in something up here, that should be a good chance to average down and salvage the play. So keep an eye on that. Do I think AMD is leaning bearish after that reversal? It looks to be a little bit. Let's take a look at it on some higher time frames. Got pretty close to that 200 SMA and rejected, but did with that earnings report flip, I think what was a pretty long-standing bear flag, yeah, over to being bullish. So let's take a look at the 4 hour as well, see if that is catching support or rejecting. Yeah, I'd be leaning a little bit bearish still, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it could find resistance and issues. Really, yeah, as long as it's below 156.91. Now, again, that's a lot of room to play potential trades to the upside, so don't get too locked into a bearish bias. But I would certainly say, these price targets on the call side of this plan would be great opportunities to look to go short and maybe take some kind of proactive put entries for possible rejections off of these price targets, the way that these flags are setting up on Neptune, just looking at it from a few different time frames. So yeah, it rejected where it should have, and it's kind of maintaining a bearish trend. It's flipping some things to the bullish side, so it's certainly a little bit mixed right now. And again, generally speaking, I like to operate by a 3-day rule. Don't get too aggressive on chasing something that right after earnings. Generally give it about 3 days to sort of let the dust settle and then figure out what you want to do from there. All right, Eli Lilly, this was our last review for this morning, and then we're going to dig into some of these trade plans. So far, we've got Apple and Broadcom, AVGO on deck. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Unknown reviews. If you have any other questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat. All right, so Eli Lilly, we saw this one. Give us kind of it was, in my opinion, a little bit of a too aggressive chasing kind of a breakdown. We talked about this, I think, maybe on Tuesday. Let me try to move. Yeah, I'm just gonna hide this real quick. Sorry. All right, stuff's out of the way. So, kind of broke down in an accelerated fashion, and by the time we were getting anything near a confirmation, it was already down near PT1. So again, this is one of those where I say wait for a back test. We did get some back testing and a rejection lower, but kind of like I said earlier, and again, maybe my levels on Lilly aren't the best. This is not one that I trade or have analyzed often. There could be a support that I'm just missing here around this 775 level, but point being, again, down here was certainly not the entry to take. That's a chase entry. Wait for the price action to come back to you. It did. It continued to push lower, but never really got, I think, a really great test of PT1 to the downside. So that's certainly on me in the plan in this particular case, because it does ultimately go on to break above and look like we're confirming some bullish momentum back to the upside going into midday yesterday. So would have stopped out anybody that did go for the short side of this plan. What's up, Chris? Good morning to you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you here. And ultimately, testing some supports there in that bullish flag. That has sent it higher going into pre-market, and looks like it could be trying to make a push for the upside. So one thing I would say, again, similar to what we just talked about with this downside plan, if this kind of opens and just runs right up to PT1, wait for some kind of a back test of the call entry level. If you don't get that, don't chase it. Just wait for that back test. Let the trade come to you. If it doesn't come to you, then just don't trade it, right? There's plenty of other plans out there. Daily SPY plan every day that you can execute if nothing else is setting up. And again, sometimes there are days that just make sense not to trade. So with that being said, let's dig into some of these trade plan requests that we've got on the docket this morning. First, for my homie Unknown Reviews. First time caller, long time listener, something like that. I feel like I want to say. All right, so let's clean up this chart real quick. Did have a recent trade plan on Apple that played out beautifully to the downside. Multiple back tests that put entry level there at 226.67, but that's in the past. Let's figure out what we want to do moving forward. And I don't think I need this trend line. Where's that trend line? Yeah, no, that's it. That invalidated a while ago, so we can get rid of that. Okay, cool. So let's Get this cleaned up real quick, and then we'll work on this Apple trade plan. All right. Whoops. There we go. All right, let's take a look at this. Does have earnings coming up. Shocker. Today after hours, so going to be an interesting one. Lots of earnings catalysts these past couple of weeks, bringing volatility back to the markets. Interesting that it seems to be breaking above this prior key resistance and now building it up as support here, but it's got the 333 right. Yeah, he certainly does, Chris. Kind of struggling, it looks like, a little bit with getting up near or over this 333 SMA here on the hourly chart. There is a little bit of like a choppy resistance down near that 333 SMA as well. Yeah, we'll fill in the blanks as we go through this. I'm just trying to get sort of my bearings on it. It's been a little bit since I looked at Apple. I know what I kind of keep seeing, no matter what time frame I look at it on. It really looks to me like for continuation, I just don't see an earlier entry that makes sense until if we're going to try to catch this to continue higher, until it breaks over 226.67. Over that, let's go back to this hourly chart real quick. Sorry, I'm not giving anybody motion sickness by zipping around these charts. It's an interesting level there. But anyway, going back to our break over 226.67. I kind of think it wants to go to 230.93. I mean, seems like a big jump, but I see lots of evidence for that being a good price target. It does have a little gap here. Well, that liquidity print there probably filled it, actually. I don't know if we should play for that too much at that point. So I would say over 230.93, looking for 232.96. So this is going to kind of be maybe a 1, 2, 3, although I don't want to roll the dice on getting kind of a perfect little liquidity grab up to that level. I'd rather look for something that's had a lot more testing and gives plenty of opportunities for an exit. So I think I'd be looking for a final scale out at 235.61. This is definitely a kind of tentative speculative level at this point. But I like how that sets up. I also like this 223.81 as a stop loss average down. So that's the upside trade plan sorted. Downside, man, Apple's kind of, I feel like the moves are too clean almost. Because I'd be looking for a break below this 220.59 level to take a shot at 216.36. We could share stop loss with the upside trade plan. The question is, does it just become another 1, 2, 3? We've got all the levels already there to the downside. I don't think it does, actually. There's a level here. Right about here. So kind of tight PT 1 and 2, but makes sense to me just based on how this proceeded to the upside last time it came through this range. Third price target, I do like our existing level there at 212.47. Whoops. Come on. Bro, get it together. There we go. All right, so Upside, it's going to look like this. Downside, it's going to look like this. So, Marathon has earnings today. Yeah, Riot just reported last night, and surprisingly, they didn't move all that much. We'll take a quick look at that, Ryan. For sure, it's something good to pay attention to. So, Apple, what was I doing? Oh, yeah, posting my Apple trade plans, or Apple live stream plans. How about that? All right. So, that is in the chat there for you all in YouTube, over in the options watch list. For posterity in the Xtrades options watch list. So what are we looking for here on Apple? We're looking for a break over 226.67 for continuation to the upside. That should bring targets at 230.93, 232.96, excuse me, and 235.61 with a stop loss average down at 223.81. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 220.59. That should give us targets at 216.36, 215.01, and 212.47 with a shared stop loss average down with the upside trade plan there at 223.81. There you go. Knock them dead. All right. What do we got next? Broadcom for Satoru. Good to see you, Satoru. It's been a while, I feel like. Broadcom, not one that I look at or have traded often, not for any reason in particular. They did just have 10-to-1 stock split, because I feel like they used to trade at a much higher price point. I'm guessing I probably do have some levels on this, but they are probably way in the rear view. And again, kind of my one of my few knocks against TradingView is the fact that it doesn't automatically adjust your levels for these splits. Doesn't seem like it would be that hard, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. So let's kind of look at this as a start from scratch, because really I think that's what we should do. All right, so for start from scratch, let's knock out some support and resistance levels. Key weekly level here just jumps right out at you as you're looking at this. Let me hide my indicators real quick, because I do want to just see price action. Potential weekly level there. I'm going to kind of flag that. Definitely a good weekly level there. Yeah, this one's kind of really, as most tech-related stocks have done, has really kind of ramped to the upside. This is an interesting level. I just don't quite see the nice resistance I'd want to see, so we'll take a look at that on the daily chart. I think that's probably all we need for the time being, just so I don't forget. I haven't, whoops, that's what I'm looking for, done anything below this. And kind of like what I was talking about with NVIDIA earlier, this is kind of my, all right, you really need to dig into some things below this level because key support is broken. What am I looking for here? Settings, template, uncharted. So we'll know below that. Need to dig in some more data there. And let's fix this one thing too. Change this on my other charts so it doesn't stick out as much. All right, so that potential weekly support and resistance level, man, it is reactive. I just haven't really seen, or I'm not seeing, any really great resistance touches, unless, let's do this, let's hide this for a second, unless it's just a hair lower from where we saw it on the weekly. Yeah, I think that's probably what we're looking for, right there at 119.83. Okay. Turn that back on. All right. So we might need some levels down here. So let's get some in place. That's an interesting level for sure. Kind of interesting, this more recent rejection. There is kind of a little double set of levels right there. This is also an interesting potential daily level. This gap is filled. I'm not seeing much confirmation there or there, but we'll take a look at those on smaller time frames. Yeah, not a whole lot to work with up in this particular range as far as existing price action goes. Let's see if we can't lock in some more of these levels, like this one right here looks pretty good. Let's check these guys out too. Yeah, this is a gap on two different, or a level on two different gaps. That's definitely noteworthy. I was kind of thinking that gap, if we saw it, if we dug into these candles, and we might see it on the hourly, finding some support on this move down, but haven't seen it yet. I'm expecting to find something near 176.81 though, as we get into some smaller time frames. So we'll keep an eye on it. Nothing confirmed yet. Yeah, there's definitely something sitting right here. That'll wind up being a level I think we'll use playing back to the upside. That's definitely a level of interest. Ha ha ha. Sorry. Kind of really debating. We've got a level right in here. I'm just trying to make sure it's the right level. It's a little bit of a gap action there. All right, we're going to go with it right there at 126.11. Don't want to debate that forever. All right, let's get to the hourly chart. Let's throw our indicators on. Let's dig into this actual trade plan. I do want to figure out, though, if we get... Man, I'm really surprised that we're not getting... Well, you know what? I take that back. Probably sits right about there. And this level... probably sits a little higher. Actually, even higher than that. Like, right there. Come on. There you go. All right. Not a ton of price action to utilize there, but I think noteworthy nonetheless. All right, so looks like a bit of a bull flag forming here. Got the 333 overhead, this recent rejection off of this 165.10 daily level. I think that's our entry. Man, I'm getting, it's like happy this morning or something. All right, 165.10. Over that, I'm looking for 169.73. Over 169.73. We've got to fill in the blanks level here at 172.72. And then over that, 176.49. See how quickly that comes together if you just take a little bit of time to put together your levels. Stop loss average down here at 162 flat. To the downside, also kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. We're looking for an entry below 153.96. I already like this as a stop loss at 156.96. First target. Actually, PTs 1 and 2. Right there. Let's see where PT3 should be. I was going to say I'll be surprised if it's not down there at that next daily level. I think it is. So this is what our Broadcom trade plans are going to look like, and we've got time for one more. We'll also take a quick look at actually we've got, and Chris, I think I want to take a look at this S ticker. Ryan, I'm not ignoring you, brother. I'll take a quick look at QQQ as well, but if you've joined these in the past, you know that Chris, when that guy sets up a ticker for me to analyze, we wind up finding some banger plays with those. All right, so let's go through our AVGO live stream plan, and then we'll figure out QQQ and everything else we want to take a quick look at before we wrap up as we go into the last few minutes of the live stream here. So what are we looking for here on Broadcom? We are looking for a break over 165.10 for continuation to the upside. That should bring targets at 169.73, 172.72, and 176.49 with the stop loss average down at 162 flat. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 153.96. That should give us targets at 148.36, 143.70, and 138.99 with a stop loss average down at, excuse me, 156.96. Those are your Broadcom trade plans. All right, let's take a quick look at this S ticker, Sentinel-1. I've apparently looked at this before. It does not sound familiar to me at all. But there's levels on the chart, so I've clearly done some sort of analysis on this at some point. It appears to work on electricity. All right. Let's take a look at this. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. Don't know what that rectangle's there for. I'm sure any trend lines are history at this point. That's weird. Why is that there? Okay. All right, there we go. Again, these trend lines, probably history, trend base for extension. Don't need that in the way. There we go. Just price action. And let's start digging into this. Already liking that 2009 as a potential target. That caused this bounce that's currently operating through. Nice little pullback to the 200 SMA has continued higher, just barely rolling over that bull flag there on Neptune. I think this will be a short-lived bear flag based on that, but we'll see. All right, definitely going to need to fill in some blanks on this. Let's dig in, let's zoom out. There's an interesting flip of support and resistance near this 2473 level that rejected recently. Let's check this on the 24-hour chart. Yeah, it's really kind of stacking up in there. I think we have a daily level sitting right about there. Over which, though, upside certainly becomes interesting. I think we also have, sorry, let me hide my indicators just for a moment. I think we also have a pretty clear man, that's dicey price action through that little stretch. Yeah, I mean, we've got a stop loss average down sitting right about here. That's a daily level. But if we clear over 2481, I think at the very least it's got a shot up here to 2654. Man, I wish that level was reacting a little cleaner. I think I've got two levels here. I've got one that's trying to account for both of them. I think we've got a level there at 28.25. That makes sense as a second price target. I think I've got this weekly level just a tad off. Maybe down a little bit lower. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call myself out on this one because I feel like 29.14 is probably going to be a tough level to break. But let's adjust this slightly. I think ultimately we can shoot for this, where this liquidity print tops out. This could have just been a sweep over that 3082. Let me just check this 3082 level out real quick. You know what? I'm going to take that back. Here's a key resistance. I think it makes sense. Let's go ahead and get the rest. I mean, take a shot for 3082 if you're watching and want to go for just a little bit more. But I think 29.85 is actually the appropriate exit for any remaining long positions at that point. Downside. So what's got you looking at Sentinel 1, Chris? That's always a good question to ask. You've always got some interesting finds with a good backstory, I feel like, as far as like what's got you looking at something. Yeah, phone calls suck, bro. Those people stop bothering you. You got money to make. All right. So we're looking for a breakdown below that. What's that? 2196. I think we can share a stop loss with the upside. I think we got a first target at that 2009 level that I was just talking about a moment ago. Below that, yeah, it could be 1860. Yep, definitely 1860. Make sure you buy time on this one. I have done most of these levels off the daily chart so far. So it may take some time for this to play out. Also, I mean, with the price point that it's out, could be a good one to, you know, just really load heavy on shares if you want to trade it that way also. So something to think about. All right. Okay. So is Sentinel, oh, okay, Sentinel 1's a cybersecurity? Gosh, never heard of them. I guess the name sounds a little bit familiar, but not one that, like, if somebody was going to ask me for, you know, some kind of a behavioristics or AV or, you know, protection software for a network and edge protection, Sentinel 1 just doesn't really jump out in my brain. But then again, I've been very heavy in favor of CrowdStrike until they broke the internet. It's still a great product. They just, you know, somebody had a major screw up that had a major impact, and that's a PR nightmare for sure. Let's check these out real quick. Let's also just want to get a view of some things here before we lock this trade plan in, but not seeing anything on the indicators that makes me change my mind about anything that I've seen so far. So let's go through it. Yeah, definitely a bad look for crowd. It was definitely a pain in my ass in particular. I think this is definitely a good one to watch and a great catalyst play for sure. As always, Chris, you've got excellent picks, my friend. All right, so let's go over our Sentinel 1 live stream plans here. We'll take a quick look at QQQ for Ryan. And he also mentioned Mara having earnings after hours. We'll try to take a quick look at EA for Schuyler. But we are running short on time. I do need to go get the daily spy plan put together for the Xtrades Discord. So what are we looking for here on Sentinel 1? We're looking for a break over 2481. That should give us a bigger move to the upside up to 2654, 2825, and 2985 with a stop loss average down at 2341. To the downside, we could be looking for a break below 2196, 2009, 1860. Oops, gosh. I kind of flew right through that, didn't I? Looking for a break below 2196 to go short, to take puts. That should give us price targets at 2009, 1860, and 1684 with a stop loss average down shared with the upside trade plan there at 2341. Let's take a quick look at QQQ. How's it setting up for the day? Interesting little challenge here with the 200 SMA here on the hourly chart, but overall things looking bullish from a Neptune perspective on the hourly. Dipping back into that buying pressure. I mean, I would say as long as 468.47 is holding, maybe even give it a little bit. I'd say as long as 468 is holding on QQQ, I'd look to buy the dip and expect for it to try to make moves to the upside. Not seeing other than, again, that hourly 200 SMA, 4-hour 200 SMA is kind of near this spot as well. Currently still full bearish on Neptune on the 4-hour. Let's take a look at the 24-hour. Yeah, it did roll things over coming up into the bearish selling pressure. So yeah, QQQ on shaky ground. Look for 468 to hold. I'd say buy dips near 468. Yeah, looks good there. 467.85, 468. Buy those dips unless that breaks down, at which point look to start playing for some short positions. So that's kind of my quick take on QQQ, Marathon. Oh, yeah. Cyber insurance is something I've had for a long time. We've got ours through, I think, Travelers. That's more of a question for my finance director than for me. But I'm pretty sure it's Travelers that we use. So Marathon reporting after hours today. Definitely rejecting key selling pressure there on the daily. Pressure overhead here on the hourly. Yeah, it looks pretty bearish to me, man. I mean, I'd say well, we did a plan on this recently. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. So I mean, yeah, especially as long as it's below 2108, this looks quite bearish to me. It keeps hitting this first price target from this old trade plan. You know, if it breaks below 1983, wouldn't be surprised to see 1871 on deck. So yeah, Marathon not looking very good. Certainly would not want to be overexposed on the long side of this one, especially, gosh, going into earnings this evening. I'd say if you're in calls, I would not be swinging those through that earnings report. Riot just reported and beat and dropped. No, they didn't. Oh my God, they missed by a long shot. I thought you said they beat. Although TradingView doesn't have the most reliable numbers, but man, that looks like a massive miss on the earnings, and it pulled back. So yeah, I'd be very, very careful swinging any call or bullish positions on Marathon going into this earnings this evening, because even if they beat, they could drop. Oh yeah, dude, insurance is getting out of control. I'm tired of paying for it. All right, so with that, we are 10 minutes out from market open. I do need to go get the daily SPY plan together to get that posted in our Discord community at Xtrades. So with that, I hope you guys had a fantastic week with us doing these live streams. I hope they've helped. We've had lots of money-making opportunities this week. Hopefully you guys have been following the plans and executing. So that's really all you have to do. I try to make this, as easy for you as I can. So with that being said, we will be back next week, next Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank everybody so much for joining me this week. I hope you guys come back, tell your friends, come join us. It is free to join. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Xtrades YouTube channel. I'm thinking, we'll go ahead and give it the month of August, September. Let's go ahead and make a commitment to lock this chat down to subscribers only. So go ahead and subscribe now if you're here and listening. That will keep you from getting interrupted. Totally free to subscribe, totally free to like. So have a great end of the week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys back here next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you again for joining me. And as we always say here on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans. Have a fantastic day. I will see you guys in the chats. Talk to you soon.